Hi everybody, it's Andy from Snowcam Shore up here with Paul Simpson from the Ski Instructor Academy in Kaprun, Austria. And Paul, why have you got your goggles on indoors?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, but I went to see the cosmetic doctor and she said, look, she says, you've got really sensitive skin around your eyes. There's a problem with your pigments and stuff like that. So she says, I need to like put a little bit of freezy stuff on it. And I went, oh, that sounds nice. It's going to like take my wrinkles away or whatever, you know? So she got this like canister and she just went, psh. And before I knew it, my face had turned into a rock, like falling off. And she says, oh, it's going to flare up and look like you've got a lot of wounds around your eyes and you're going to have to put cream on for the next 2 weeks. And then my partner said, you can't go on YouTube looking like that. And I said, why not? It's just the way it is.
Look like you've been dragged over some gravel or something.
I know. I've been beaten up. Not
Anyway,
good. Andy, the more important thing about is the news, not my eyes.
Yes, the news. So we are in the second half of our current lockdown here in Austria. Some people are saying the lockdown was extended, but we knew when they announced this lockdown, they said first minimum 10 days, potential additional 10 days to the 12th. We knew that meant there would be a 20-day lockdown. Not a lot would have been achieved in just 10 days. Figure-wise, the infections were coming down, although they've gone back up again today by about 2,000 to 10,000 daily cases. But the critical number is the ICU beds, which we're sitting at around about 650. And this seems to be the number that the government are using to make decisions or base their decisions on. And unfortunately, the ICU bed number isn't coming down day by day. It's increasing. So my kind of thought process is if that doesn't improve, then the lockdown won't improve. But also, if they were to unlock and we had an influx in tourists, the hospitals are then going to get even more overstretched because of the broken bones, the broken wrists, collarbones, legs, etc., that tourism would create, unfortunately. However, the ski lifts did stay open. They closed for literally a day. Kitsteinhorn reopened, and it has been snowing ridiculous amounts ever since lockdown started, and therefore people are skiing.
Yeah,
which is
confusing.
Yes.
It's confusing to some people because obviously from Ski Instructor Academy's side, we had to send home, mammoth amounts of people at great financial cost to themselves, having to return back to their house. And that was obviously the shame because 24 hours later, the lifts appear to open again, and trying to sort of explain to people, well, yes, but the lockdown still doesn't allow you to come and ski because tourists aren't allowed to check in to holiday style accommodations and hotels. So therefore, there's no services available to look after you. Yeah. And these lifts have been opened again for the locals, of which there's probably on average about 200 pensioners up there, the at-risk category, skiing around happily on the mountain by themselves. But that said, we are starting some educational programs I can see again because even worst case scenario, Andy, and I said worst case might stretch things even to the 22nd of December, but I doubt we'll go that far. Maybe it's another extra 7 days on top. They need to be ready to operate after that with Christmas time, don't they?
Yeah, it's interesting because off camera we both said our thoughts, and we both think that this lockdown will be extended. Although we also say it needs to be over before the 18th, ideally, because that's the first big arrival day if tourism is going to open. And a couple of things that were announced yesterday, which we were talking about, was one, they are allowing shops to open on Sunday the 19th of December. Shops in Austria don't open on a Sunday unless they are critical, so supermarkets can open and sell certain things. But they're allowing all of the shops to open, and this is because they've lost one of the Advent Saturdays during lockdown.
Yeah.
So obviously money-wise, they want to get money back into the shops. Other things, bizarre things, Christmas trees are allowed to be sold.
Essential.
It was passed yesterday. There was a law or a rule passed that Christmas trees and Christmas tree sellers with kiosks and stands could operate because it was deemed extremely important to agriculture and forestry.
Sounds like important things.
I'm probably going to just go and get myself a load of Christmas trees and start flogging them outside the supermarket.
I think that's a good deal.
Got no other work.
I'll do it on the Kitstein and ski at the same time. So it is confusing because the lift systems are operating. You've got unbelievable start to the season. You're talking about a start of the season that you don't see, probably once a decade or even longer. So all the ski resorts could basically open up tomorrow because that's how good it is. I'm outside my front door at 730 meters here. We've probably got about 30 centimeters of snow outside the front door. You're looking confused.
I thought we were at 946 meters.
No. Kaprun's quite low. And actually, that's the problem with Kaprun. If it was at the height you're talking, where you're talking Saalbach, you would see that that's more like the area just where the house is up there towards the Stangenbauer before the
orange house.
The orange house.
The orange house.
That's about that height, and that's why you always see the snow change. Kaprun's always been about 100 meters
too short,
too low.
But it's funny because we're on the back end of 5 days of snow.
Yeah.
And then last night or yesterday afternoon, it was
dumping down,
massive, loads of it.
Yeah.
And then at 5 o'clock, it started to rain.
A little bit. Yeah, it switched a little bit.
It rained all night, and then we were walking around in slush this morning. But mentioning Saalbach's opening on Saturday, the 6th.
Okay.
No,
that'll make the Kitstein Horn even quieter.
Yeah.
Because once the other resorts like Zell and Saalbach open up, it really spreads it thin. But yes, what surety can I give? Well, from my side, obviously, we're very transparent. We don't like to make up stories. But what we can give is an opinion that's educated from what we hear in Austria, and certainly from what Andy's saying about shops getting permission to open on the 19th, for example, is I would say that this lockdown will come to an end just before that point to make sure that the legality of them shops opening is easy. Because let's face it, nobody's going to open a shop for one day, then send their staff home again in a lockdown.
No, especially as they were saying that the staff are going to get double pay and a day off in lieu.
Which they desperately need because they haven't been working.
Exactly.
So I think we're pretty certain. And as I was saying in that recent interview with the Daily Telegraph, and which ski magazine was it? I can't remember. Andy probably knows better than me. Anyway, it was the ski magazine. And I was explaining that this sort of fire break is certainly very, very good for those who've already booked for January, let's say, or even into February, I would say as well. I'd have a lot of confidence in that period, because this lockdown will reduce the numbers. Now, with the ICU beds, it's awkward because the trouble is if somebody goes in intensive care, generally they don't go in for 1 or 2 nights. They tend to be there for some people for weeks on end. And that's why that figure doesn't exponentially drop like the other figures. And Andy mentioned a figure of 10,000 today. It's been higher. But we've been at 16,000 for quite a long time. So it has even come down.
It's dropped considerably since we went into this lockdown, I think looking at yesterday, 8,000, something like 6 or 8 a day isn't as big a deal because, again, think of the size of the country, 8.5, 9 million people. As a percentage, it's very, very small.
Yeah. And it certainly accelerated the vaccine program with people who weren't vaccinated. I mean, I had my 3rd booster jab 2 days ago. And, definitely there's a sudden increase in people going and giving up on their morals now and going, oh, stuff it, I'm just getting the vaccine.
a lot of people rushed out straight away to start getting their boosters, to get their first booster. There were a lot of demonstrations in Vienna and other places, Graz. But again, they're trying to pass this bill.
They basically got it through now.
Yeah, pretty much, I think yesterday. And it's probably from 14 years of age upwards will be compulsory vaccination or a fine of €7,200.
Yes.
That's like, it's more than I earn in a winter.
Stab my arm, please. Stab it. So I think Austria is certainly looking into the future, and you can see Germany now looking at it closely and following suit. That's likely to happen with that compulsory vaccination. Switzerland was interesting stories the last few days, Andy?
Yeah, because they have done a total U-turn on last year where they stayed open and people were allowed in and hotels were open and nothing was a problem. Now, all of a sudden, I think anyone coming in from the UK has got to isolate. Is it for 10 days?
Right. And
and then there was a lot of talk about how do I fly into Geneva and go to France. Apparently that's been cleared up. You can transit through. But there has been a lot of A lot of people asking a lot of questions
Yeah,
online.
I think a lot of confusion as usual. And I would say from my side, a bit like I keep saying, don't get your science from Netflix. Equally, don't just go on these Facebook groups and necessarily ask out open, because you're always going to get people with opinions rather than facts. And that's why, you know, if you wanted to know something here in Austria, you could ask Andy. Don't ask me, because I'm just not interested generally. I know, see. But just ask Andy. Or, you know, if you're wanting to know something in France, you're probably better off connecting with somebody in France, you know, where they're pretty much up to date.
Or official lines, government websites. Your tour operator is probably going to have a better understanding than Doris from the chip shop. And there was somebody 2 days ago who posted an email, and they said, I've just got this from my tour operator. And it was about the transit in. It said you can transit from Geneva into France, so your holiday will go ahead. And they posted it on a Facebook group and said, do you think this is true?
Well, yeah, it could be fake news, but if it's from their tour operator, probably likely. I mean, we had the same problem with our French course, because people were concerned that they're flying into Geneva, for example. Would they be to get to their course in Morzine? And at the end of the day, I said, well, worst case scenario, there's more than one airport, but, you know, you can fly direct into France.
You can fly to France. Yeah. Chambéry and Lyon and...
all these other ones. So
there's another one, isn't there?
Whatever it is. But the point was, yeah, as Andy says, go through the official channels, and normally you'll find a way that's, you know, secure enough. But certainly vaccinations are getting highlighted more and more, with the likes of Spain even saying now, you know, you're not even allowed in with the kids unless they're double vaccinated, and it keeps going on.
And again, this is a big one for the British travellers, and we don't know the answer yet. We're still waiting for an answer on the 12 to 17-year-olds.
I thought it was approved yesterday. But I see, I'm talking rubbish. I don't even live in the UK. How would I know? I thought I spoke to...
For them to come into Austria?
Well, I thought I spoke to the UK sales team, and they were saying, no, they can get the vaccine now.
What, they can get a second vaccine?
Yeah, I thought that was what was going to be getting agreed. But then again, don't listen to me. I just blabber away. But yeah, okay.
Well, if a 12 to 17-year-old can get double vaccinated, then they won't have a problem coming into Austria. It's only if they've got the one vaccination that we currently don't understand how the Austrians are going to allow it to work. Because an Austrian child with one vaccination and then what's called the Ninja Pass is allowed to do things. But this is the problem for an outsider. So let's say from the UK, is if they haven't had two vaccinations at the moment, they're not allowed in. Or they're allowed in, but they can't go skiing, they can't go to a restaurant, and they can't go to a hotel, which kind of means they can't come.
Yeah, which is a bit like our courses, was the same thing.
Yeah, but we believe that the Austrians are working on a solution, and I think them solutions will be announced when they announce that the lockdown will end. And if the lockdown is extended, like we think it will be until around the 17th, 18th, they're going to have to tell us when we're coming out of lockdown 7 to 10 days before anyway. So you will have a good amount of notice that you're going on your holiday if you're booked for the 18th, let's say. I
mean, the good thing is, I was speaking to some contacts within a bit more higher up in the government here, and they were saying hopefully by Wednesday, Thursday next week, we will know what's happening with that lockdown on the 12th. You know, they're going to give us enough space and time, and they make some definite answers at that point.
They've got to warn. They've got to warn the lift companies. They've got to warn the hotels. Everyone's got to then get ready again. Yeah. And for a lot of the hotels, that's going to be rehiring staff that they just have to
send away.
Yeah.
This is the big problem. But coming back to that interview I did, I think it is fair to say, Andy, that once we open up again, you're certainly sure that one country within the Alpine nations here is going to have at least an extended breathing spot, if you like, to go on holiday. And I would trust Austria, actually, over any of the other countries who are just still in full flight of normal tourism.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. And I think we've spoken about this, is that what's just happened in Austria is going to happen in the other places, but we've already had that, as you keep calling it, the fire break. We've had that fire break, which will give us a season where there is a very good chance that if it hits France middle of December, start of January, that's the rest of the season gone.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
And I know the French came out and said there will not be a lockdown. You can guarantee that tourists come and see us. But everybody says that until there is a lockdown.
Yeah. Boris has been saying it till he's blue in the face the last 2 days. But let's wait and see.
Nobody believes him,
No.
Exactly. Well, any other news that's actually good news? Well, we're having a great time. I mean, that's horrible. But I was cross-country skiing. I went cross-country skiing the other day. I actually toured up the Maescogel, which it was horrendous because they had the cannons blasting all the time and it totally destroyed the snow coming down. So I went ski touring. And it's extremely quiet. So that's some small positives, but it's about to kick off again. We've got a lot of exams going on. We've got a lot of people to qualify before they go off to work for the season here in Austria. So things are going to be hotting up over the next few weeks.
I've just done a snow report, and the forecast for the next 5 days is insane again. It's like 44 centimeters tomorrow, then it goes down to 8, then it goes up to 35, and then on Sunday another 50 centimeters of snow.
Yeah, we'll send you some pictures, folks. But from us, I think that's about it for now.
Yeah, bye for now.